guys, welcome back to Spin Cycle. I am of course your host, Tony Giles, and today's episode is a different one from the one I originally had planned, but as myself and a lot of the rock and metal community are doing right now, we're in a state of mourning for the loss of our dear Ozzy Osbourne, and I thought, you know what, why not pay tribute to Ozzy on this episode of Spin Cycle and show off some of my favourite Ozzy albums. Ozzy's music has been around for, well, I mean, if you go back to the early days of Sabbath, since the late 60s all the way up until Patient Number 9, which came out a couple of years ago. The man has never stopped making music and has never ever stopped putting smiles on faces, and I'm pretty sure, even though there won't be any more new content, smiles are still going to be on faces worldwide. And I've got a bunch of albums here in this nifty Memphis tote bag, and I know that listening to these albums has helped me, you know, and I'm sure it may help some of you out there as well. And you know, when you talk about Ozzy, obviously it's easy to talk about Black Sabbath and everything the man did there, but for me, I was an Ozzy fan first. It was this album right here, Blizzard of Oz. This is what introduced me to the world of Ozzy Osbourne. This came out in, when was it, 1980? I wasn't listening to this in 1980 because I was 2 years old, but I certainly became more aware of Ozzy long before I did Sabbath. And this is Ozzy's debut solo album after he was politely asked to leave Black Sabbath. And rather than rest on his laurels, Ozzy came back with one of the greatest debut albums in rock and metal history. Crazy Train. You can still hear it on radios worldwide now. Suicide Solution, Mr. Crowley. The album is nothing short of fantastic. And my personal favorite track, which is going to be probably a little bit controversial, is the one ballad on the album, Goodbye to Romance, which I think is absolutely superb. And Blizzard of Oz, you can still find this in record stores around the world now. And if you've never heard it, I thoroughly recommend checking it out. This is an OG copy, so it is a little bit on the loved side, shall we say that, but it was cool because it was one of the first albums I ever owned that came with a poster. And one of the cool things about this is this poster has been well and truly loved by its original owner, let's just say that. There are marks and tacks, and this was placed on a wall, this was worshipped and loved. And I'm all about that because Ozzy Osbourne's music has always preached a message of love to me. He's always been very grateful of his fans, always very happy to be doing what he's doing. My first experience with Ozzy was actually not a pleasant one. I don't know how old I was, maybe 4 or 5. I was a massive Michael Jackson fan. Could not wait to see the video for Thriller. I'd heard about this video. It must have been on terrestrial TV. I'm not sure how I heard about it because I was a little kid, but I knew that the video for Thriller was something special. The video for Thriller starts, everything's cool, Michael Jackson's on the screen, and then he turns into a werewolf, which absolutely scared the bejesus out of me to the point where I actually ran up the stairs and was peeping through the banisters because I was so terrified. It took me many years to actually be able to watch that video, but shortly after watching Thriller, I happened to catch the video for Bark at the Moon, which again terrified the living daylights out of me. And I will hold my hands up now and say this. I did not watch the video for Bark at the Moon in full until I was well in my teens, which is, it is what it is. I wasn't a horror movie fan as a kid, I am now, but Bark at the Moon, I loved the song. I thought the song was so incredibly catchy, and you know, I wanted to watch the video. I was just terrified of Ozzy turning into this Jekyll and Hyde type character. It took me a while to get over my fear, but I did love the music. And what I have here, this is the Bark at the Moon album, but this is the RSD Essential version. Now what this is, RSD, Record Store Day to you and I, as an entity, releases albums year-round that they deem have some kind of merit or worth. And Bark at the Moon was deemed one of those albums. So you could get this from independent record stores. This is the 40th anniversary and comes on cobalt blue vinyl and includes a rather nifty poster, which, if I were a kid, this would literally be the stuff of nightmares, but now I just look at it and think, man, that's cool. This is the original inner. It is replicated in this 40th anniversary edition, and as I mentioned, it does come on this really nice cobalt blue vinyl. And it sounds pretty good as well. I'm not gonna lie, this is a very good sounding pressing of the album. So if you cannot locate an original copy, you would be hard pushed to find one that sounds better than that anyway. When we talk about Ozzy, of course, I could easily overlook, but I won't, the majesty of Randy Rhoads. Now, Randy was an integral part of the early days of Ozzy's solo career, and unfortunately, Randy's life was taken from us far, far too soon, all down to a silly accident. Could have been prevented. But that's not what we're here for. We're here for the music, and this Ozzy Osbourne live album, the Randy Rhoads tribute, is an absolute essential must-have. I don't know if this has ever been repressed, but if it hasn't, man, it needs it. It really does. If there are any Ozzy albums out there that sorely need a repressing, it's the Randy Rhoads tribute album. This album is a mix of Ozzy solo material and some Black Sabbath stuff as well, and it's absolutely fantastic. And following the theme, this one also comes with a poster, and this one's very cool because it does pay tribute to Randy Rhoads and the Ozzy band from those early days. And what's also cool about this, it is a double live album and features some beautiful printed inner sleeves. Lots of images of Randy, lots of images of Ozzy and Randy just having fun goofing off. This came out, when was this? 87? Yeah, on the nice 80s Epic label. I'm such a fan of that label. If you can be a fan of label artwork, that's what I am when it comes to the 80s Epic label. And there you go, Randy's old guitar tutoring card, and Randy's mum Dee there as well. Beautiful, and I'll show you this one off as well. Excellent album, highly recommended. Not massively expensive if you do find it on the second-hand market, but that's kind of subjective because it all depends on how much you want to pay for an album. But I think this one will probably run you around $50 second-hand, which I don't think is terrible. And those are some of my favorite Ozzy albums, but my favorite Ozzy album is actually something I didn't own until recently. It's No More Tears. It's the album that is just, I mean, it's No More Tears. This is actually the 30th anniversary version, I think. Might not be the 30th anniversary. It's a reissue. It came out maybe last year or the year before. I can't remember exactly, but it does replicate the original quite nicely. Beautiful cover. Ozzy's band at the time, which was just absolute bunch of killers. I mean, just Ozzy Osbourne, Zakk Wylde, Randy Castillo, Bob Daisley, John Sinclair, and Mike Inez. What a band. What an absolute killer band. And a great gatefold as well. And as I said, this one actually came out a year or two ago, so this one is actually really easy to find and comes on a nice big thick slab of black wax. I've been doing nothing but listening to Ozzy music for the last couple of days. It's not unusual for me to do that. Ozzy and Sabbath are routinely on the stereo at Record Room Towers, but maybe a tear or two have been shed since the passing. So I just want to say thank you for joining me on this episode of Spin Cycle, allowing me to pay tribute to one of the greatest of all times, Mr. Ozzy Osbourne. If you would like to grab yourself some cool Memphis merch, maybe grab yourself a tote bag or one of these cool Memphis Halloween shirts, head on over to mrpswag.com. And to make sure you never miss an episode of Spin Cycle, make sure you're subscribed to the Memphis Record Pressing YouTube channel. But that's it for this episode. When you think vinyl, think Memphis.